You think you're smarter than most people, don't you? Maybe not in every area, but in your own mind, you see yourself as reasonable, more aware, less prone to the blind stupidity you witness all around you. That's exactly how the trap begins. I'm not here to insult you. I'm here to expose something far more unsettling. The silent mechanism that turns intelligent, thoughtful people into blind fools without them ever realizing it's happening. And the most dangerous part, it works best on those who think they're immune. Centuries ago, the German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer observed something during the rise of the Nazi regime. He noticed that raw intelligence didn't protect people from becoming part of something deeply irrational, even evil. In fact, the smart often became its most loyal servants. He called it the theory of stupidity, not the kind of stupidity measured by IQ tests or academic grades, but a moral and spiritual stupidity, a voluntary blindness to truth. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This blindness isn't born from ignorance, it's born from comfort, from wanting to belong. Plato saw it too in the Republic, when he described the noble lie, the stories societies tell themselves to keep order. These lies can only work if people choose not to question them, if they decide that peace of mind is worth more than the discomfort of truth. And so they stop looking too closely, they stop asking dangerous questions, they start mistaking silence for wisdom. Think about your own life. How many things do you believe simply because they're convenient? Not because you've examined the evidence, but because it's exhausting to fight the current. The trap doesn't spring suddenly, it happens slowly. It begins with a small compromise. You laugh politely at an idea you know is wrong because you don't want to seem difficult. Then you ignore a small injustice because it's not your problem. Then you repeat a half-truth because it's easier than explaining the whole messy reality. By the time you notice the trap has closed, you're defending positions you never chose, living inside a worldview you never built, one that was built for you. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this better than most. In The Prince, he wrote that power is maintained not by truth but by appearances, and those in power rely on intelligent, competent people to rationalize their decisions. The powerful don't fear the ignorant. The ignorant can be swayed with slogans and fear. They fear the thinkers, which is why the most effective way to neutralize a thinker is not to silence them, but to turn their intelligence into an instrument of the system itself. This is why some of history's most horrific regimes weren't run by idiots. They were run by brilliant strategists surrounded by well-educated advisors, people who convinced themselves they were being pragmatic, realistic, or even moral. Let's make this more personal. Imagine you're in a group meeting at work. A decision is made that you know is flawed, even harmful, but the group is enthusiastic. You could speak up. You could challenge it. But you know the cost. Alienation, conflict, maybe even your career. So you keep quiet. You tell yourself it's not worth it, that you'll speak up next time. That moment, that tiny decision to stay silent, is the seed, not of cowardice, but of alignment. You've just taught yourself that belonging matters more than truth, and the next time it will be easier to stay silent, and the next time after that you'll speak the group's language without even thinking about it. Nietzsche called this herd morality, the instinct to move with the crowd, to value safety over self-determination. He warned that it's not evil in the obvious sense. It's comfortable, warm, and often dressed in the language of virtue. It tells you that you're doing the right thing by not causing trouble. And slowly it turns the individual into part of a mass that no longer thinks, only reacts. This is why the trap feels so invisible. You still believe you're thinking for yourself, but your thoughts now come pre-packaged by the environment you've chosen not to question. History is full of examples. In the 1930s Germany, it wasn't just the uneducated who followed the Nazi ideology. Professors, scientists, lawyers, some of the brightest minds of their time, became its loudest advocates. Why? Because opposing it would have meant exile, prison, or death, but also because they told themselves stories about stability, patriotism, and order. Stories that made silence seem like virtue, In the Soviet Union, intellectuals became masters at doublethink, holding one set of beliefs in public and another in private. Over time, the private beliefs shrank, the public ones became real. And today, in our own digital societies, the trap works not through fear of violence, but through fear of exclusion. One wrong opinion, one unpopular post, and you're branded, shunned, erased from the social fabric you depend on. So we adapt, we self-censor, we become careful, until carefulness becomes agreement. Here's the twist most people don't see. The trap doesn't just turn intelligent people into silent bystanders, it turns them into articulate defenders of the very systems that manipulate them. Because when you're smart, you can justify anything. You can find the statistics, the historical examples, the clever arguments, and when you tell those stories enough, you begin to believe them yourself. The mind doesn't like to live in contradiction. If you've chosen comfort over truth, your mind will eventually rewrite reality to make that choice seem wise, and that's how intelligence becomes self-destruction. So, how do you escape? First, by noticing the moments you choose silence over discomfort. Noticing the justifications you make to yourself. It's not the right time. I don't have all the facts. Someone else will say it. Second, by training yourself to sit in the unease of disagreement. To understand that being right doesn't mean being liked, and being liked doesn't mean being right. And third, by guarding your inner independence as if it were the most precious thing you own, because it is. Once you lose it, you don't get it back easily. Plato once said, "The price good." Men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. But I think there's an even higher price, to wake up one day and realize you've become the very thing you once despised, not because you were too stupid to see the truth, but because you were too afraid to live it. The silent trap is patient. It doesn't care how smart you are. It only cares that you want to belong. And it will wait as long as it takes for that want to outweigh your courage. The question is, when that moment comes, will you even notice?